Okay. We're live on YouTube. Oh, I don't know about the lighting. It's just okay. It's just gonna be what it is, I guess. Okay, yeah. I think this is just what it's gonna be. Let me do this a little bit. Okay, we're gonna go live. Hi, we're gonna go live on Instagram. Okay. Live again. Hi, and welcome to the Sci-Fi and Sunshine podcast. I'm Bria, a speculative fiction author and a running mom. And today I am in Augusta, Georgia. I'm not at home. I'm in a special location with a very special guest coming onto the show. And it's very exciting because this is my very first guest that I'm going to have on the podcast. And it's not just that I have a guest, it's that they're here and they're going to come on in just a minute. So I'll get to that in a second. So it's spring break. That's why I'm not home. My son is out of school and we came up to see family. And right now I'm in an office. So I'm going to give you a little tour of the office, and this will be a great way to introduce you to my very special guest. So on YouTube, I think I'm going to have to just move the whole computer screen. I can carry everybody around on Instagram. So bear with me. I'm going to flip it around in just a second. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to do a little pan of the office, and then YouTube. Let's see. Yeah, we'll do this. I mean, you're getting the hint of who my special guest is because he's right there practicing his sword work. Okay, so Instagram. This is a few little decorations in the office so you can kind of get a picture of what kind of person uses this office and what things is he very fond of. So yeah, we're going to move over here. And there he is. Mark Frederick Castaneda Gomez. Hello, welcome to the podcast. I see you're doing some of your sword work today.
Yes.
And you're fencing. So you might want to put that sword away while we chat.
Let's do that. Okay. Thank you.
But when did you learn how to fence? I mean, this is not actually pretend. This is something that you did. You did fencing.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did some competition and years ago in Florida when I was in Florida and competed down in Miami, but anyway, I was part of a club in St. Petersburg, Florida, and an elderly gentleman that qualified for the Olympics as an instructor, and he was amazing. So anyway.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Wave to the YouTube folks over there because they're getting a different angle than the Instagram
Okay,
folks.
Great.
Okay, so I'm going to flip it around so we can talk together.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
So the other thing about my dad is that he's a runner.
Yes.
So we're going to go over to this side of his office and we're going to look at this amazing, incredible plaque. So you can see this is the Boston Marathon in 2018. Okay, what do you want to tell everyone about the Boston Marathon? And we'll come so you can face.
Sure.
We're going to stand here while you talk about that for a second.
Yes, it was the hardest race I've ever ran.
Yeah, we're gonna close up while you talk about it for just a second.
Because if you could tell in the pictures, it was raining. It was a wind chill, about 22 degrees.
Yep.
A lot of the elite runners stopped running, fearful of being hurt.
Yes.
And
it was 2018, the horrendous freezing rain, and it was pretty bad.
But I made it through,
yes.
And I have the medal there that
you did it. You finished it.
I did.
That was such a huge accomplishment.
Oh,
look here! This is a perfect segue into. Oh, and you have 3 lovely daughters.
Yes, I do.
There we are.
There
we did these little fun photos for you because you always tell us you love us more than the water in the ocean. And the stars in the sky and the sand on the seashore. So that's why we did those fun little photos. Such a good dad. Okay, and then we're going to get now into the realm of what we're here to really talk about. So you like to read a little bit, and
yes.
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings
Was a book that I think you read in high school, or after high school.
It was after high school. Yes,
and then you discovered your love of fantasy.
Yes.
And you already knew you had a love of sci-fi.
Yes.
So we're gonna focus on the lovely C.S. Lewis space trilogy here, which I absolutely love also. And
the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Oh yeah, Lion, Witch, and the
series,
Wardrobe, C.S. Lewis. So you've got some of your favorite things, some of your
Yes.
books, and let's go over. Okay, so we're gonna settle at the desk here, so everybody doesn't have to move around with us. Okay.
Okay.
We're gonna reset these little screens so that everybody can see what we're doing. Okay, so we've also got. You grew up with some other types of books that you really like to read. So let's hold up some of those books that you have right there.
Well, I love comic books growing up as a young boy, and my favorite of all was Thor, the mighty Thor.
Oh yes, and, Thor.
Just amazing superhero.
I lost Instagram. we had a collapse. Okay.
And so Thor was one of my favorite of mine, and of course,
there we go.
Spider-Man.
Oh yeah,
Spider-Man was
the amazing Spider-Man. I'm gonna scoot closer to you.
You bet.
Okay. There we go. And now we're both on the screen.
And then this is a special edition, the original Avengers, and it has the Spider-Man. And
I realized one thing about Instagram is if I flip it, people will actually be able to read some of the titles.
Oh, okay.
It's backwards if I keep it the other way.
Okay.
Okay. So Thor, you were saying Thor. Yeah. Okay. Everybody on. Yep. Okay.
Spider-Man.
Yes. I lost a leg of this tripod, so I have to.
Okay.
And then. Okay. And then. Yep. Keep talking.
Yes,
so you grew up reading the. Okay, this isn't gonna work. I'm gonna have to lean my phone over here. Okay.
Okay. No worries.
We're gonna do this. There.
There
okay. That works.
And then the original Avengers was way back before they got popular, but I have it. Yeah. And then kind of militarily, Sergeant Rock, Easy Company. We've heard a little Band of Brothers and that HBO series.
Oh, but, wow. I didn't realize that's where that came from.
And then GI Combat, which one of my favorites is The Haunted Tank, a Stewart tank. And it's the story of a man named Jeb Stewart, commander of that tank, but also that he would have dreams of the Confederate General Jeb Stewart, who was with the cavalry, the tremendous cavalryman during the Civil War. And anyway, so it's quite a story of.
And you're a big history buff too.
Yes, yeah. Just been to Gettysburg here not too long ago. Mm-hmm. Tremendous. Everyone in our country should try and get a chance to be there to see what actually happened there and the turning point in the war.
Okay, so this last podcast, a week ago, I did a podcast where I was talking about my DNA, and so Larissa jumped on there and was chatting with us, and so this is just a little bit more about Mark Gomez, my dad. Your dad came from Mexico.
Yes.
And so tell us a little bit about your family, our Gomez family.
Yes. Yeah. Briefly, my dad, again, during World War II, when a number of the American young men and women were extended across the Pacific and Europe, there was need for agriculture in a number of the states. And so the Mexican government requested from the United States, could you help send the United States, ask if there were some Mexican young men willing to come and work the fields. They'd be paid, get work permits, and help the harvesting. So Dad was going to the University of Guadalajara at that time, but the money was very attractive. He and some friends decided to do it, came across, worked in the fields of Arizona, California, and all the way up to Oregon, where he ended up meeting my mom, who's German, Irish, Scottish. And so And they were eventually married. He got his citizenship, and I'm the second in the birth order of 7 kids, and so and it's been a great experience to be able to have the Mexican heritage as well as the Irish and
oh yeah, we just celebrated St. Patty's Day.
Yes, we did.
Well, and Grandma Gomez is still with us.
Yes.
Your mom.
Yep.
She is 93 years old.
Yes.
And I love this age progression because Grandma is 93. You're 73 and I'm 43. So I always know how old you and Grandma are because you're 30 years older than me and Grandma is 50 years older than me. Yes, so that's kind of fun. That is. Okay, so that's, the Gomez family, wonderful, lovely family that we have. Yes. And so so we're going to get back to some of the main topics that I like to focus on here is science fiction. And so I also thought it was really appropriate to bring my dad on because a lot of my love of science fiction comes from him. And so I remember you talking about reading things like Jules Verne and H.G. Wells and some of those old TV shows like oh gosh, now I'm going to forget some of the names of
well,
the
even the first book I read,
Flash Gordon, and
it was Around the World in 80 Days, Jules Verne, and then of course, The Time Machine by H.G. Wells, just fascinating. And one of the reasons I think even comic books or the science fiction is that even as a boy, I thought there has to be more to this life than just the things that we see here. There's got to be something more. And so that interest got me to do some reading and enjoying some possibilities.
And so inevitably we have to talk about Star Wars because that was a huge thing for our family. We kind of have a joke because when you first went to the movies in 1977 and Mom was with you and weren't there other family members?
Yeah, there were some other families. We stood in line for an hour or so trying to get into the theater. That was so popular.
This is a thing that is probably hard for today's kids to even picture, that you would stand in line for an hour at the movies waiting to get in, because we just haven't seen that lately. So you remember vividly, I'm sure, getting into that theater and maybe thinking, what is this going to be? But it was exciting, and it was there's a lot of hype around it. And so there's kind of a teasing that comes with this, but everybody who was there, or even when you would talk about it later, would talk about that opening scene.
Yes.
And it was something, I'll let you describe what it was like sitting there in the theater, never seen anything like what was about to come on when Star Wars, the scroll came through explaining a little bit of what we're about to see. And then there was that first scene.
The opening scene of you're in outer space, and all of a sudden this huge kind of barge or spaceship, a massive thing, comes over your head. And I mean, it just was overwhelming. Whoa, and I just yelled out a big wow to the whole audience, the whole theater.
So he has been teased about this pretty much his whole life. And my mom was mortified because she's like, oh my gosh, my husband is yelling out in the theater.
Yes.
And so anyway, it's a kind of a fun little reminiscent of kind of movie magic moments that Star Wars brought. And then as, when I was a kid, and obviously all 3 of the movies were out with Empire and Return of the Jedi, and then we would watch them at our house on the VHS tapes, and then eventually you got a projector and we'd watch them. And just like the capturing of the imagination that was, and so over the years we've done skits, we've done, we dress up like the characters. To this day, those of you watching, you probably all know I dress up like Princess Leia as frequently as possible. And so that started here in my family, not here in Augusta, because we didn't originate from here. We all, as mentioned, from Oregon and Washington. But we would put on skits. We would put on as a family. You have Jedi, Jedi robes and lightsabers and a little R2D2 that's we got that for you. I think one Christmas, the R2D2 responds to voice command and he rolls around and dances and does, he does his little cute beeps and stuff. So one of the first books as a kid. So I've always been writing and you can attest to that. Writing stories as soon as I could write sentences. And I remember one of my first stories was this little alien story in construction paper as like a 7 or 8-year-old. And I know that was partly because of how much sci-fi was in our life.
Yes, there were so.
And talk about aliens and talk about, just some of the fun things. So what would you say, Dad, as you reflect back on some of the science fiction that's meant a lot to you? You mentioned Jules Verne and H.G. Wells, and we've talked about Star Wars. Is there any other science fiction, either movies or books, or just even the science fiction of our current world becoming real? Some of the things that just really either impacted you or just stick with you. In the science fiction realm. I'm kind of putting you on the spot.
No, that's okay. And what comes to mind right away is, as I held up earlier, Thor, Spider-Man, Iron Man, some of these things. When I heard they were going to start to come out on the big screen,
I was
always wondering, are they going to do it the right way? I said, well, they did it the right way when they first came out, especially, and
when Iron Man came out and the first Avengers movie,
and Thor,
and Captain America,
all those, they were following the character that I read about in growing up, and I was so excited, and they were able to put it on the big screen like you were really living it. So that was a big plus that I'm glad that there was, because there was always a message of hope and of integrity and doing the right thing and all these elements that came to. But then when they got on big screen, it was just fun to be part of that too.
They're all such good movies.
The other element I'll just mention, the other author that I've really enjoyed is C.S. Lewis. His of course, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and the message of that, and of redemption, and just tremendous renewal. And then his space trilogy.
Yes, we showed that earlier. It's up on the shelf. I don't know. You can't see it. But
Out of the Silent Planet, Paralandra, and that hit his
Paralandra.
And so, which are tremendous books to be able to get through and reflect on. So he was another author that was very important.
So I think the only other thing I was going to talk about, because in the sci-fi realm, and when I think about growing up in our house, I also think about like some of the other movies that we would watch, like the Terminator movies and the Alien movies. I remember being terrified watching Aliens, and you're like, "Oh, it's fine. Don't be too scared." But really, I think what I appreciated about some of those movies is not just the wild action. Oh, okay, come back. Hold on, Instagram. We're still here. Okay. They had to pause for a second. Oh, wow. My phone is having issues over here. Okay.
No worries.
There we go.
You're there. You're good.
There. Okay, we're wrapping it up. So, speaking of the messages, like C.S. Lewis has these wonderful messages because he comes from the perspective of the spiritual and the looking at the world worldview, that there is more than what we can just see, and he takes that into an amazing sci-fi story in the Out of the Silent Planet, Paralandra, and That Hideous Strength. But even some of these pop culture things like the Terminator, that movie will probably, especially Terminator 2, will probably always stick with me. And I know it has a lot of violence, there's language, but the message behind that movie is so powerful, because we're seeing kind of today how we are so dependent on the machine.
Yes.
And kids today are so dependent on the machine. When we were watching that movie in 1994, we didn't have handheld phones. I mean, some people did.
Yeah.
Usually you would be a doctor and you might have one of those huge cell phones, and some of them had car phones, but that was not our norm. We had these corded phones that would be on somebody's desk, like right here on the desk, and you would talk and there's a cord, and it was the whole thing. If you had a cordless phone, you could move around a little bit more. And so just technological advances and just exploring those topics as a family. And I think that really stuck with me. And anyway, I don't know if you had James Cameron, I think is a big name to me in science fiction as a filmmaker. And then, some of the other movies like The Matrix. I mean, talk about just that picture of getting sucked into the machine, because the machine's goals are not the same as humanity's goals. So as we explore the real world and what's happening now, it just those movies still ring, and their messages still ring very true.
Right. Very much
so anything else before we wrap up that you would like to share with the audience, and just words of wisdom, or from your 73 years? And we just did a run together this morning. We ran a couple miles, and here in Augusta, Hurricane Helene came through, 100-mile-an-hour winds back in September. And there's still, we went on the little nature trail right here in the neighborhood, and there are still so much aftermath from that. So I meant to bring up that too, that I get to run with you, which is a really special thing. Not everybody gets to run with their dad and try to keep up with their 70-something-year-old dad.
Well, no, she paces me. I'm trying to keep up with her now. So, but it's been a great time for us to be together in that way. So I encourage you. But just some of the comments. Number one, I'm very proud of you. I am so excited about all that's happening with you, and continue to keep curious. Keep curious like you do, and you all too. Keep curious. Pick up some good books that you have that speak of humanity and the potential humanity has in the right ways. So, and that. I'm also a man of faith, and Lord Jesus has been a big part of helping me keep curious. It's interesting because of the Christian faith. I've begun to see things I never thought possible. So that's been exciting. But keep it up, my daughter.
Yes. Okay. So this has been a very special episode with my very first guest on the Sci-Fi and Sunshine podcast. So I still have to read my little outro. I haven't memorized it yet, so bear with me. Okay, that's all for now. As you venture through this sci-fi world we all find ourselves living in, may you be the sunshine that people around you see today. Bye. Bye. Okay, now I have to hit the button so it actually ends. And bye.